Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to talk about context in React. We're going to work with the use context hook. For this, I have a simple code sandbox example. So in this example, what we have is we have this app.js and we have two other components called component 1 and 2. And what 1 has is this text and it renders this component 2, and just what component 2 has is just this text. So because of that, we have both the text that are in component 1 and component 2 rendered over here. And this is a weird way of rendering because we have a component within a component. I hope this makes sense. So the idea is that, let's just say I have a state in this app.js. I'm just going to call this text and then create a set text to update the text dot use state. I'm just going to give Apple as its initial value. Let's just say I want to access this state in component 2 without passing it through component 1, right? Because I'm not using it in component 1. So one way what we can do is we can push this to a global state like Redux, but that would be in Oracle. So in situations like this, use context is a really good way to solve the problem. So let's get right into it. We're going to make this accessible to component 2 without passing it through component 1. So we can do this in 3 steps using the context. First step is you got to create your context. For that, I'm going to create a new file. Name this context.js. You can name this anything you want to. And then I'm going to import React from React. And then I'm going to name this my context. Again, you can name this anything you want to. So I'm going to use the use create context function by React. Here you pass in the state. Initial value variable, and set text will just be a function, and I'm going to export this so that I can access it. Export default my context. Step 1 is done. Step 2 is we're going to connect this state to the context, and we're going to wrap everything that is there in this app.js with a context provider, so that this is what will make this accessible throughout the component tree. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to import that context that we created. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this step provider. I'm going to wrap this over my whole and this thing will take a value, and you're going to pass in the state value that you need to make accessible throughout your component tree. So this is what I want to make accessible throughout my component tree. So just going to pass text and set text. Step 2 is done. Now what is left is I need to kind of render this text in component 2. So what we have done is we wrapped everything inside this context provider and passed out this value. So because of this, the state is connected with this context that we created. And to access this in this component, what we simply do is, again, this is the final step, import my context from the context that we created. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply get this set xt equals, I'm going to use the use context hook now from React. Use context, and I'm going to pass in this context inside this. So basically this thing returns an object with this text and set text. That is what we are just destructuring over here. Now what we can simply do is something like this. I'm going to just add this text called value from context. I'm just going to render the text. Now, as we can see, guys, we got the text apple that we stored over here via this. So basically, this text is accessible to component 2, but we did not pass this to this component. As we can see, this component doesn't have the text, but we can access the state over here within component 2, which is in 1, without passing it through 1. So that is the whole idea of context. So no matter how deep the component is within the tree, you can easily access it just by wrapping it with this context provider. Now let's say I want to update this value. Very simple. I'm just going to use the set text. So I'm just going to have a button. Just going to call this update, and then on click set text. I'm just going to say banana. Now if I click the update, the state changes to banana. So this is what use context is, guys. This is really simple way to make state accessible throughout your component without using props. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.